Hey guys, I'm Frey.
I'm Low Life,
I'm Peachy.
and welcome back to Dude I Know Stuff. Today we are going to do a COVID check-in, talk about the vaccines, all the different kinds, what you need to know about them, debunking some myths, and summer's right around the corner, so we're gonna also go into more health and talk about some diet and exercise options.
Toby and Maria are not here today. I think they'll be back next week, though.
So, COVID vaccine. Who's vaccinated?
Me.
I finally got an appointment. It has taken
Yeah.
me eons, but they finally emailed me and they were like, "Hey, you're up, biatch," and I was like, "Cool." So they had me schedule them both at the same time.
Oh, you scheduled one and then were able to schedule the follow-up at the same, phone call.
Yeah.
I was looking
exactly.
are you getting Johnson & Johnson or...
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure these are Pfizer.
Okay. How long have you been trying?
I signed up probably like a month and a half ago. So like I signed up through like my county's health department to like let me know when, because my thinking was like I wouldn't like I'm not like an essential worker or like a healthcare worker. So I was kind of like, when you are ready to put a needle in my arm, it'll be here. But like, do everyone else who like really needs it first, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
That can be taken in many, many ways.
Yeah, oh for sure. So I was like, I can hang out until like my name is up, because I looked at like CVS and like the grocery store pharmacies and I like could not get through. But then I have a friend who lives like 6 minutes away from my house and she was like, I just kept calling until I got an appointment. But honestly, I didn't have time to keep calling until I got an appointment either.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to work.
Are you getting it done at like a hospital, or were you able to go to a clinic? How is that going?
I think it's a pop-up clinic in town.
Okay.
So like
Yeah,
the way
mine
that
was like in a parking lot.
Not sketch. Behind the dumpster.
With one of those like carnival tents.
Yes. That's how my first COVID test went. I had to get tested to go on a photo shoot for work, and you had to like go in the back door of this like kind of sketchy urgent care in a strip mall, and they had like a tailgate tent up, and then you just kind of like stood there, and it was really weird because this was like at the height of everything, so everyone was like standing like this under the tent, like to like shrink themselves as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't really like this.
I remember when I had to go get a COVID test, I was like, if I don't have COVID now, I'm probably going to get fucking COVID from all the people here. Like, especially because they're all trying to get tested. So I'm like among the crowd of people most likely. I know, but I was just like, I'm going to have to come back in a week.
Honestly, I think people telling other people that they were exposed to COVID or have COVID is like almost worse than telling people you have an STD at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was telling some people at work recently. I was like, this is the new like STD, STI call where you have to be like, hey, you need to get tested, and now if you've been with anybody else, you should
need to
give
let them know
call.
too.
Like, yeah, I was
God,
like,
it's so true.
And people are not happy about that phone call either.
Okay, well that more or less like happened to us. Like my husband was exposed at work and I was pissed, and I was like, God damn it, this ruined my whole weekend. Oh, like, and it basically was like he might as well have come home and been like, I sat next to this guy at lunch and he gave me chlamydia, you know?
Like, it's curable. We need medication, but it's ruined your whole week.
Exactly. Just like a huge inconvenience.
And now people will forever judge you because what you've been up to.
Yeah, that too.
Exactly.
And then they judge you and they think that you haven't been safe, or like you're going out and being risky.
Little COVID whore.
I want a sticker that says that.
COVID whore.
I'll throw it on my, hydro flask or something.
That's the hashtag going with this episode.
Yeah, COVID whore. Paige, you got yours really early because you were like technically healthcare, right?
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, I do marketing, like media, content management, marketing, yada yada yada, for a surgical practice that does cosmetic work as well. So that's why they do the marketing part of it. So I was eligible all the way back in January, and I am like cross-trained to work with patients if there's ever a situation that comes up where like we are don't have enough people, which at first seemed kind of ridiculous, but that came up after somebody got COVID in a department, and next thing you know, I had to like work with patients again.
Nice.
So yeah, I was eligible super duper early. I think I got my first Pfizer dose at the start of January, and by the end of January, I was getting my second dose and completely immune by February.
How are your symptoms for both shots?
Yeah, unexpected and expected. So the first one, my arm hurt so bad the next day, and like the nurse didn't tell me that. All she said was like, you might experience a fever and chills, just start hydrating and drink a lot of water. But literally that same night I woke up in the middle of the night because I rolled on that arm and it hurt so bad it woke me up. And there's one time where when I was going into college, I had to get my shots and boosters and vaccines done. I got 3 in one arm in one sitting, and that didn't even hurt nearly as bad as the Pfizer vaccine did. But then with the second one, I had a little bit of arm soreness, not really anything that would like inhibit my movement, but I was so down and out the whole next day. I remember waking up, ordering breakfast to get delivered because I could not get out of bed. I was just like muscle aches and fatigue, and then going back to sleep until like 3:30, 4 p.m. when I went to bed at like 10:30, 11 the night before. And it wasn't until then that like I finally felt like a normal human again. But I was lucky I didn't get any fevers. Though, I was thinking about it and I realized I had not been sick for like over a year at that point. So I didn't know if it hit me really bad or if my tolerance for just being sick was super low and I had turned into like a little bitch baby. So yeah.
From COVID whore to bitch baby.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Well, that's what I'm worried about because like my first appointment's on, I think like a Tuesday at like 3 o'clock, and then my second one is like I think on a Tuesday again at like noon. But I'm like, shit, I have to like work the rest of the day, and like my boss is very much like, if you can get an appointment, just like take the first one you can get, and like we'll figure it out like work wise. Like if you die kind of thing. Not actually die, but like if you're like fatigued and like don't feel good, we kind of deal with it.
I mean, if you do die, there's not really much they can do about that.
Yeah, at that point it's kind of like, well, she was nice while we had her.
My work has been like really great and understanding about all of that because they're very much like just want everyone to get vaccinated. So they like, if you get both rounds of vaccines or like the Johnson Johnson, if you get fully vaccinated, you get a $100 gift card.
What the fuck?
Right.
Yeah, and they give you like 2 hours per like shot that you get. So if you're getting one that's 2 doses, you get like 4 hours total to like get it paid, which is nice.
Wow.
Because they realize like you can't necessarily be picky about like your time slot or anything. And then if you're sick or can't go to work as a result of getting either vaccine, you get PTO reimbursed essentially.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like I have a very frail coworker. He got his first round, and I think he got, I can't remember if he got Pfizer or Moderna. I got Moderna. And we both got our first shots like the same week. And I was like fine. My arm hurt a lot. Like I couldn't really lift it like higher than this without it hurting. So, but it wasn't like a big deal. Like putting on my shirt was probably more painful than it should have been. But other than that, it was like, it's like no different than like a normal shot, I think.
Yeah.
But he was like out. He was like down for the count. Dude missed like 3 days of work all paid.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which like, I don't know if, if he was actually that soft or he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna kind of, work the system, which like good for him, honestly, who cares?
If you're gonna do it.
Yeah. And I have my second round of Moderna on Tuesday in 2 days.
Nice.
So yeah. So I will probably be I'll probably like go into work Tuesday right after I get it. and then leave if I start to feel gross, because I heard it takes like 4 or so hours after you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. We'll see what happens Wednesday and Thursday.
And
but
I
he
heard
gets his second one Wednesday, since we both got our first one like around the same week. We're also getting our second ones around the same week. So good thing we're kind of like ahead of all of our projects for once. So that's not too damning to our work.
for sure. I heard that if you've had COVID, the first one, I think it's if you've had COVID, the first one's worse. And if you haven't, the second one's worse. That could be flip-flopped. I don't remember exactly.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many like rumors. It's like if you have the Pfizer one, the first one is worse. If you have the Moderna one, the second one's worse. But then like I've also heard the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But the way like thinking about it scientifically, it would make sense. Like the most plausible theory, in my opinion, would be that if you have had COVID but like didn't know that you had it, after the second shot, it would make sense to get sick because you're raising an already high antigen count.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like pushing that symptomatic threshold, which is, I feel like, also why they tell you if you've had COVID recently, like you should wait to get the shot.
Yeah, I had a few coworkers that had COVID within the past like 2 months of being eligible for the vaccine, and they told them to wait a little bit and give it time. I think one thing, if we're talking about vaccinations, it's important to bring up the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, because it's been such a hot topic lately in terms of the blood clotting. And then, there's already so much skepticism around the vaccines as a whole, or just vaccinations in general. But I didn't realize that, and I think that this is kind of on par with our conversations about like sexist medicine, that birth control actually has a higher risk of blood clots than and this is not to say that I don't think it's important that Johnson & Johnson look into like the risk factors, because people have died from the blood clots. So there's definitely like, they're mainly stopping it not because it's unsafe, but because they need to look into what the risk factors are so that they can inform patients who have higher risk with the Johnson & Johnson that like, hey, you fit these risk factors. But I was like, oh my God, could you imagine if the same level of skepticism and concern came to like women who have birth control? Like if that kind of like...
It's because I don't care about women, and it really... it drives me up a fucking wall. It just it makes me so angry every time I hear about it or like think about it. The fact that like it's the same thing as like why we don't have male birth control. Like all those tests, they were like, well, it didn't, like it made men like feel like shit. And I'm like, I want you to sit in my uterus for one day and feel what I feel during my period. Just I want you to experience it a single time.
Well, I guess like I think the bar, I think it's totally legitimate for men who had that, who are in that trial. It is completely legitimate to be like, I felt like shit. I felt suicidal. I did not feel okay. I don't want to take this. That is totally fair. But the same level of respect should also be given to women on birth control. Or like, people with vaginas on birth control. Like that same level of like, hey, we should address these problems should be applied there.
Or I wish that someone would have told me that. Like when I first went on birth control at 16, no one told me that it was going to make me fat. It was basically just going to replace all of my natural hormones with fake ones. Like no one like told me anything. It makes me so angry because then I was on birth control for like mega moons, finally got off of it in like my mid-20s. And I was like, wow, this is what my body actually feels like. Fucking wild. So now it's basically like going through puberty again because I know I'm like, all my shit's re-regulating. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, and I totally see the benefits of it, but I really think that a lot more research needs to be done on it to make it so like you don't have to basically go through all of this shit again once you get off of it.
Yeah. I think the thing that gets me the most about like the sexism in that is like anytime a woman is on her period or like dealing with symptoms from their birth control, guys are always like, oh, they're so sensitive, they're so like XYZ. When in reality, like women have such a higher pain tolerance than men do. Like the fact that men couldn't like stand the possible side effects that we like face monthly at
Hmm.
like such a lower scale is like just shows that like, see, you're a little bitch boy too if this shit was happening to your body, so like back the fuck up.
Exactly. Like the fact that I have to have like a prescription painkiller for my cramps and like no one like sees anything wrong with that just like blows my mind. They're just like, yeah, that's the name of the game. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I didn't choose this game though. The
Yeah,
game picked me. I didn't pick the game. And I really
but
like that.
yeah, I think I don't know, it's I feel like I totally understand both sides to a certain extent when it comes to vaccinations and healthcare in general. Like, I do
Hmm.
think that there's like a line where like things become not very necessary and very much like medicine is money. Like, it's a very capitalistic, like most things in the US industry, and they're just trying to like shove shit at you that you really don't need. But I also do think that like also like why suffer certain things if you don't have to.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
definitely like a very fine line, and I think it's very like up to people's discretions and opinions and views. Until, in my opinion, it starts affecting those around you who like
Hmm.
can't control it. Because especially with like vaccines, and you know, a lot of parents are like, I don't want to vaccinate my kids because I think it'll like give them autism or because I think it'll like XYZ. Um, it's like getting vaccinated is like car insurance or health insurance. Like you don't get it for you, you get it for other people to like ensure their safety.
Hmm.
And
Because if you have there's like this happened to one of my cousins. He died because there's a kid in his class who didn't get vaccinated for something, and he ended up contracting it because he had a condition with his heart that he couldn't take vaccines. So like even if he wanted to, he like wasn't able to. So in which case he had no defense against this illness. So he had to kind of rely on the people around him being vaccinated and not passing it on to him. And other people just didn't. And he ended up getting it, and he ended up getting really sick and he died.
which is horrible. And I think that's another reason why schools like require it too.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there's so many parents who are like, well, I'll just doctor the paperwork. And it's like, okay, but have you ever like stopped to think like why that's a thing?
Yeah.
And like the
Yeah.
autism thing has been debunked. Like that came out of like some crunchy granola lady like in her office. Like
I
that wasn't
think
even like
to add on to that too, in a living child who has autism is still better than a dead child. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, too, like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with being like plenty of children are autistic and live functioning independent lives. I think
Mhm.
that there's so much ableism around autism as if it's something that like you need to fix people with autism or like it's the worst thing that could ever happen to your child. And granted, like it's a spectrum. There are some cases where people have a very hard time being independent and functioning, but like there are also plenty of people with autism that like you would never know. And so I think
Yeah.
that like we also need to address the like fear and ableism around that to
Yeah.
like address alongside the like anti-vax movement as a whole.
Yeah. And I was watching, there's this girl on TikTok that I follow who has autism, and she
she
like,
blonde.
yeah,
I follow her too.
yeah. So she was like explaining how like a lot of people, when you think of like an autistic spectrum, you think of like a number line from like 1 to 10, but it's not like that. It's more of like four quadrants, and like maybe this is like physical, this is like audio, this is like certain things. So you're more of like a bullet point, just pointing as to like which type it manifests in. Um, and I also think that she also taught me this too, is that the sexism there too is that most research for autism is done with male patients,
Mm-hmm.
and males and females manifest their autism in very different ways. So a lot of people think autistic people are very bad at social situations. They're like super introverted. They like get awkward around others and aren't sure like how to react with people. Whereas a lot of the times in women, it goes undiagnosed until like their teens or like their adults, because it's so opposite. She was explaining that she is autistic, but she's very good at social situations. She has mastered what they call masking. So she's just like very easily able to reflect what you're giving to her back to you. It's not necessarily like maybe her most authentic self or like how it's just kind of like how she copes and how her autism works, and that's very common in females, whereas it's the opposite in males. So any research done that kind of on that topic is male related, so that's why so many females go undiagnosed.
I think, though, going back to what Lowlife said earlier about with medicine being so capitalistic, I think that plays into a huge part of the vaccine skepticism and like medical skepticism, and makes me wonder about, and I'm not super aware, but like any kind of anti-vax movements in countries where like the medical system isn't so profit based and profit run. It makes me sympathetic to people who are skeptical because of that. And it's unfortunate too, because a lot of the times they fall into like pseudoscience, pseudo medical systems that are scamming them simply because, like, I mean, at the end of the day, we all want like our kids to be safe and healthy. Like, we all want that. They just were unfortunately fed information, well, misinformation, that these vaccines are going to hurt their children.
Yeah.
And that they're being pushed it because corporations want to make money off of them, which to a certain extent they're not wrong. It's just, you know, the corporation can make money while simultaneously, you know, preventing spreadable disease.
You know what really surprised me about the vaccine was that, like, our parents' generation, I feel like, is the most hesitant to get it. But, like, for the most part, our whole generation is vaccinated, I would say. I think, like, the anti-vax movement started, like, after, like, we kind of got all of our vaccines. So, like, every time my, like, mom pushes back on me about it, I'm like...
But you vaccinated me, like...
Yeah, like...
So you wouldn't want it for you, but you would want it for your kid. That's a little fucked up.
Well, she doesn't want me to get it, and I was like, stick the needle in my arm, let's fucking go. Like,
Get me going, baby.
Yeah, like, let's fucking rock. Yeah, and I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense, because, like, you let me get the Gardasil vaccine, and, like, all the other ones, and, like, the Gardasil vaccine, as far as I remember, felt like a professional boxer socked me in the arm, and that led to, like, so many issues for other women. Like, it's directly linked to, like, PCOS, like, things like that, and I'm like, so you let me get that, but you don't want me to get a vaccine for something that caused a global pandemic, all this, like, economic, social, like, strife. Like, that makes no fucking sense to me. But it's, like, that whole generation, and I'm like,
yeah,
explain it to me. And they're like, there's not enough research. And I'm like...
Millions of people got sick. That's the research. Like...
But, like, that's all they fucking focused on, because they're like, it moved too fast. And I'm like, well, yeah, because when you take away all those roadblocks, and that's the only thing that you have literally everyone in the world focusing on, you can do shit a lot faster.
Yeah.
I think, though, Lowlife, like, in our private conversation, made a really good point about the generational gap, if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother about this, and it's just like how you said, pretty much like millennials and Gen Z are like all for the vaccine, and then like if you're like 80 or older, basically if you were around for polio and you could remember polio and all these kids getting sick, you're also like, shoot me up, like I want it immediately. So it's really that like middle, what is it, Gen Y or like baby boomers who are so hesitant because they weren't alive during polio, and I guess now with all of the like vaccine myth kind of anti-vaxxer movements that they've clung on to. So it's very much just kind of like that middle generation.
Yeah.
So they had it too easy is what we're learning.
I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. They haven't experienced half the shit we have.
I felt so dumb. I was on the phone with my grandpa and I was like, yeah, have you like, ever experienced, he's like 96. I was like, yeah, you ever like experienced
was he around for the Spanish flu even?
I was like, have you ever experienced anything as crazy as COVID? He's like, well, polio was pretty bad. And I was like, oh my god.
That's so funny.
Have you guys ever seen that like Magic School Bus Miss Frizzle like vaccine myth debunking video? No. She takes a bunch of parents who are anti-vaxxers in the Magic School Bus and goes down into like the anatomy of a kid or whatever. And one of the like anti-vaxxer moms has like a crystal and she's like, I'll do this here and it should clear everything up.
See,
are you looking it up?
I am a crystal junkie, but I never in a million years have I been like, this crystal is going to fix like real ailments. Like definitely support, like, if I'm nauseous, I like a good gin versus a Tums or something.
Oh,
but
same.
like, I acknowledge the fact that, like, when my cramps hit me like a Mack truck, I need my naproxen, and no crystal rubbing it up around my hoo-ha is going to make that feel any better. And I would 100% acknowledge that. It blows my mind where these people are like, this crystal will fix everything. I'm like, I support a good crystal, but I like modern medicine. When you put them together,
yeah, I think it's a balance. Like, I think it's about people, because also, I mean, the placebo effect is really, really powerful. I mean, they've done clinical studies. If you believe something will work, in many cases, it will work. Like, for pain, I mean, I'm not saying if you have a disease, thinking that it's going to go away is going to work. But, like, if you have pain somewhere and you take something truly believing it's going to fix it, or, like, you truly believe that, like, a crystal is going to help with a headache, a lot of the times it's been shown that, like, yeah, it can actually help people. And I think
placebo is like the most powerful drug.
Yeah, placebo gets knocked down a lot as like, haha, you fell for some bullshit. But like, if it works, it works. It's not bullshit anymore because it's working.
Yeah.
Well, that was something that I talked about with my therapist. So I go to therapy to try and manage my anxiety, and I was like, some days I just like really get in my head and I'm just like, oh my God, like I am overwhelmed and like everything is like coming like crashing down on me. And she was like, this is gonna sound wacky. She's like, do you ever just like talk yourself out of it? And I was like, oh, I'm going to now because
I never thought of that option. Thank you.
Literally never dawned on me once to just be like, you don't have to be anxious, dude. You're good.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like I've totally like tried that method too, but I feel like I'm too smart for it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I know that I'm trying to talk myself out of my current state of mind. Therefore, it's like going to be like, ha, I see what you're doing. You're trying to trick me into not panicking, but I know I should panic. And I'm like, but you don't need to. And I've been told like what to do is like you like turn to that anxiety and be like, what do you want? Like, I'll give it to you. Like, what do you want? Why are you here? Like, just tell me and we can maybe work this out.
My therapist goes with I bring this up when I talk about League of Legends. But like my therapist says like not to dwell on low energy stuff. Like that kind of thing is low energy. And granted, it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it's definitely like, why am I investing my energy and my like feelings into this kind of mentality when I could be putting it into something like much more positive that will like bring me more.
Yeah.
That's usually why I journal. Like when I feel really anxious, I just stream of consciousness in my journal. I can't read anything at all. Like my handwriting gets so messy, but I just like write my inner monologue out more or less, where I'm just like, these are all the thoughts just like running through my brain. And I usually always feel better just because then I'm like, okay, it's not in my brain anymore.
Yeah.
It's in this notebook. I bet if you like could read the energy around my notebook, you'd be like, ew.
I feel like I would not want to go near it.
Oh my God, no. It's
like there's like a lot of things happening.
Yeah. If there was like a little energy like succubus, they'd be like, ew, I don't want that shit. That's chock full of some trauma.
Kind of to circle back to the COVID vaccine specifically, I know we have a friend and she was telling us that like her coworker or whatever was like, yeah, my husband and I aren't getting the vaccine because like we're trying to get pregnant and I heard it makes you sterile. And she was like, I mean, there's no proof that that is a thing. And her friend's response was, there's no proof that it's not a thing. And I'm like, that's not sound science. That's not how it works.
You can't prove a negative.
Yeah.
But like, where do you even get that? Because like,
I don't know.
I'm like childbearing age, not state of life, but age. And that's like never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that's a lot of work.
This is Nick has a good point too and said, I'd rather be COVID safe than pump babies out TBH.
You know?
There's plenty of kids available for adoption.
Facts. There are multiple ways to have children. But for the blood clot and the Johnson & Johnson one too, well, it was like 4 people out of like 4 million.
It's
like 6 people. Yeah. Whatever. Either way though. You know what I mean? Like, it totally, I agree with Christian. Like, it is, like, an issue, and you probably need to look into it and, like, let people know that they have pre-existing blood clotting conditions or, like, they have really thin blood or what. I don't know how blood clotting works. But basically, like, yes, they should do their research, but I don't think this is, like, a life or, well, it is a life or death. But it's not, like, I feel like it's being blown out of proportions a little bit. And I feel like it then gives anti-vaxxers the like, see, we told you.
Well, and if you're really worried about that, ask your care provider.
Yeah.
Stop Googling shit.
Yeah.
Ask your doctor. Because, like,
WebMD is not that helpful.
You can be at higher risk for blood
dead.
clots for just like pre-existing conditions, how you eat, sitting all day. Did you know sitting at work puts you at higher risk? Sitting for 8 hours at a desk puts you at higher risk for blood clots. Like all of these things.
Especially in like a non-agronomic or whatever that's
ergonomic,
called.
yeah.
Ergonomic, that one. Have you like ever tried to sit on like I feel like a lot of people sit on bouncy balls.
Oh, my mom has a chair like that where like literally the yoga ball like is in a seat and then there's a tiny little backrest and you can swing. They're so cold though. They're so cold. I didn't think about that, but it's just air on the inside. So like if you live in a place that's freezing cold, like the Midwest, in the wintertime, those things are never heating up. It's freezing. They're also like not I mean, it's bad, but, like, I sit with my legs crossed, and, like, I move a lot, and you can't really sit that way. So.
I think it's because I'm small. Like, my legs are on my chair right now, mostly because they don't touch the ground all the way.
Same. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce right now, but I do, like, all day at work. But I work from home, too, so I feel like I, like, get up and I'll, like, wash the dishes, or, like, I'll get up and, like, do some laundry, but at the same time, like, I'm also, like, sitting for a really long time, and I was better about actually standing at my desk like when I was in an office because all of my coworkers did, but now I'm never going back into an office. So I really need to like get better at it. But I did get a laptop riser, and that's kind of helped. But I don't like to type on it because then I'm like,
yeah, a lot of people have like gotten the standing desks too.
Mm-hmm.
My desk can do that. So Matt and I built desks from IKEA where we got like countertops and then like legs. And they're adjustable, but it's a pain in the ass to adjust it. And I have so much shit on my desk that I'm like, I'm good.
I'll sit. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just try and like do more after work. Like I'll like go to yoga, or like now that it's getting warm again, we like take the dogs for walks.
Mm-hmm.
We meet up with like another set of friends that have 2 dogs. We must look terrifying walking because they have 2 pit bulls, and then my dog is a half pit bull. So it was probably like, damn, not fucking with these guys in the woods. Like, please don't.
Please don't. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Gotta stay safe, man.
Do we have any closing vaccine topics before we move on to our next topic of the day?
If you're eligible for the vaccine, please get it. Please get your COVID vaccine and continue wearing a mask even after you get your vaccine. That's all.
Masks are in style. Just remember, no one can see that your face broke out if you got your mask on right.
Real talk.
Mm-hmm. So our next topic is, so summer's around the corner. Everyone is, I don't know, maybe getting ready for a beach bod, maybe switching to like lighter. I feel like most people try to eat healthier in the summer versus the winter, because winter is very much like a soup heavy, like kind of darker meat, kind of heartier food in the winter. Whereas like in the summer, like if you eat like an entire steak and potatoes, you're gonna feel real gross, and on top of that, like pretty hot because it's summer. So I feel like summer is very like salad, smoothie bowl season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love a good acai bowl.
Yeah, and now that I feel like things are opening up COVID wise, so I think it's going to be easier to exercise, but also if you live somewhere that has like pretty cold winters and springs, or like rainy or whatever, it's going to offer a lot more of outdoor options for exercise as well.
Yeah. What I want to try and do this summer to like, so okay, I'm vegan, so I eat vegetables year round, but I really want to try and eat with the seasons, where you only eat things that are in season. So like you're staying healthier, but then you're also like helping the earth too, because then you're not like shipping all this produce that's like really not in season around.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. So that's kind of on my like summer list of shit to do. And then start like a native plant flower beds. So like I have a light green thumb. So like I kill some stuff, but like not all of it. And I'm trying to plant like flowers native to my state in my flower beds. So that's not really my summer body, but that's like my summer plant hacks.
Yeah.
For like,
I feel like that
my
makes
all
sense
around
too.
health.
Especially since you're vegan, I know a lot of people who are vegan, it's sometimes it's health driven, sometimes it's sustainability and environmentally driven. And as much as like cutting down the amount of water that it takes to like raise a cow or whatever does impact the earth, like food miles impact it just as much, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Like buying stuff that has to be imported from like other countries or like even cross states, like the amount of gasoline and like the planes or the cars or the trucks. And like also all of the labor that goes into growing all of that stuff when it's out of season and like all the extra effort that it takes. That contributes a lot to the environment too and sustainability. So I definitely like I'm not vegan. I eat everything. But I definitely prefer going to like a farmer's market,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the summer. And that's how I get my produce because not only does it reduce your food miles, but it's like the fresh stuff that's in season. It usually helps out local farmers.
Mm-hmm.
It
And
like lifts up your own like
Community.
smaller economy.
they stay fresh so much longer
Mm-hmm.
because you
Yeah.
feel like how long like the produce on the truck has been like moving for. Whereas like if you're at your like Saturday morning farmers market, like they pluck that shit that week, and
Yeah.
that so like it just stays so much longer, so you're not wasting as much food too.
True.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it really helps you kind of decide what to make too, because what's available is more limited. So you have to be a little more creative in like how many ways can I cook a pumpkin or how many ways can I like cook this or that or like what would go well in this salad.
I like
yeah,
this is Nick's point about leaky gut and then just the gut to mind connection as well. So this is something I learned about in like the past year that I started looking into just because I have been making an effort to eat less inflammatory. I say as I had a spicy ramen this past week. Um,
And Chipotle.
it's going well, and Chipotle. I don't get the spicy stuff on my Chipotle though, so that helps. And there aren't a lot of
good.
lectins in beans, like when they're cooked for a really long time, like Chipotle's beans. Ha! I also don't do beef anymore. Like if I eat beef, it's very, very, very rare because it's much more inflammatory than like a chicken is.
Interesting.
But yeah, I didn't realize though, like your gut, there's like a direct connection between the microbiome in your gut to your brain, and your microbiome can actually like, for example, if you eat a lot of bread and then you try to start cutting out bread, or like for me in particular, if you eat a lot of sugar and you start trying to cut out sugar, there is there's organisms in your gut that are thriving on that because ultimately like your habits are and like cravings are based on what you're feeding the microbiome in your gut. Like there's little living things in there that are like, yo, where's my sugar at? And they have that direct connection to your brain that really impacts your cravings, which made me feel better about craving sugar as I'm trying to cut it again because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not super addicted. It's just my gut is like very reliant and the health of my gut. Well, health, their health is reliant on like what I've been feeding it. So I've been trying to make an effort of eating more diverse. So like cutting out things like sugar that are not as healthy for me, but also adding in a lot more diverse like fruits and vegetables and trying to just have a gut that's not super reliant on like one very particular type of food or like one type of vegetable, but rather like a wide array of things for overall like holistic health.
Yeah.
That's why I had to go vegan was because my gut microbiome was all out of whack, and my doctor was like, "This will fix your problems." There's a lot more science behind it. That's like the really really short version of that appointment. Um, but I found it really cool. And then the deeper you get into it, like you more or less like have to diversify your fruits and vegetables because if you don't, like that also has a negative effect on your gut health. And then like it's all linked to your brain chemicals too. So like when my gut microbiome was out of whack, the hormone or chemical in my brain that's like, hey, like you're full was all out of whack too. So like I would just keep eating because like nothing was ever telling me that I was full.
Yeah.
It's different when I'm high. When I'm high, also I will never be full at that point. But like during the day, when I'm sober, my brain also was like, you're not full. So then I would just keep eating and eating and eating. And then I was like, why am I gaining all of this weight? So it was also like, you almost have to like retrain yourself too, that like what your real portions should look like.
Yeah.
which is really wild.
I've actually been putting less on my plate too, because I read that like if you have more on your plate, you're more likely to eat past what your actual hunger levels are, because your brain just like sees the food and is like, well, this is, especially if you're raised in an environment where like you never had a dirty plate, like you ate all the food before you left, which that is unhealthy eating habits being instilled in children, and that was definitely a household I grew up in. So I've been like putting less portioning and then giving myself a little bit of time to digest and then going back for more if I want more food, rather than just being like, put it all on.
Yeah.
I would. Oh, go ahead.
I have a friend here. She has IBS, and a lot of the times it has to do with like the sugar and carbohydrate structures. Like chemically speaking, it's harder for your gut to break down. So she said a solution is she cooks like everything, like her fruits and her vegetables especially. She'll like steam them or cook them or like put them in something else so that because when you're consuming your food while it's still warmer, your gut then doesn't have to heat it up to break it down. It's just already heated up and it's much easier to break down. So that's a neat little trick too.
Adding on to that too, cooking your food, especially fruits and veggies, helps break down lectins, which are like a natural chemical that your fruits and veggies create to ward off predators. Because it's inflammatory, it doesn't make like it make the whole purpose is to make you not feel well. So by cooking it, you also like break down those lectins more. So when you consume it, they're not there to cause inflammation or leaky gut and things like that. But overall, I like, since this was kind of in relation to summer too, I've been thinking more about how how comfortable I am in my skin, but not really in the context of other people seeing it, because to be honest, I don't think like this summer is going to be like open beaches, or like I don't think we're at that point yet.
At least not where we all live.
Yeah, at least not like
in like Florida or something. It's already been like that.
People, but even then, I wouldn't be comfortable. Like they can do that, but like if beaches opened up in my state, I would not be like, let's go.
Rush it.
Yeah. So I don't think that like I'm gonna have a lot of people seeing my swim bod. But I have been thinking about like, do I want to tone up? I want to be like overall just like able to do more this summer, because I probably won't be going out to like public places, but I want to do more in my backyard and like be able to lift some shit in the backyard, like a rock out of the way. I don't know.
I'm so weak.
Yeah.
I have not like consistently worked out, and I want to say like years.
I would feel like the older I get, like the less conscious I am of my body. And I don't know if that's like just like the work that like I've put into like accept like the body that I'm in and like not wanting to worry about it. But like the only thing that I'm like actually self-conscious about is how freaking pale I am.
Really?
Like I'm a ghost. Oh my god, yeah.
I feel like I've embraced it. I've hit like a place of comfortable like acceptance with my ghostly self.
Maybe that's the next level for me, because that's like the only thing that I really don't like is how pale I am. But then I also like don't have the patience or like really want to like sit out in the sun and just like bake.
But
and
that's not good for you either.
It's not. And the last time I did that,
I hit those tanning beds in college.
Well, okay, Lo, distinctively, do you remember that time you were living in that house behind the bar over the summer? It was the summer that and I fried the top of my thighs, and it was so bad. Z Sweezy brought me a bag of Cheeto Puffs, and I literally I was sitting in my dark apartment, fried, with like apple cider vinegar and water, like washcloths all over my thighs. And he walked in and he goes, Lo told me you like fried your thighs, and I thought cheese puffs might help. And I was like,
it's probably because they look the same as a cheese puff.
You're like, I have a cheese puff.
I was like, I am a cheese puff. It hurt so bad. The next year, my thighs are freckled to shit because of that one sunburn.
Have you seen a dermatologist?
No.
You should.
Because it was just those. That was like mega years ago. And I checked my moles.
Are they still there?
Well, yeah, they're like freckles now. Like that. Like my mom is like
spots. Not freckles, they're sunspots.
Don't give it a nice name.
But they look like freckles. Well, because so like my grandma used to have a sunspot on her forehead, and it was like this big like brown spot. And my mom has one right here too. But like
that sounds like a birthmark.
No, because it's only because of the sun. I don't know.
I know that's the thing. Sunspots are a thing. A lot of old people get them.
Yeah.
Because the pigmentation in their skin like isn't as resilient anymore.
So you got them old lady thighs.
I do, dead ass, but only my thighs. Like that's the only part of me that like I've ever like really, really, really burned, and I've never burned again because I was like, the sun and I, we don't fuck. Like absolutely not, because I don't have the patience for it, and I hate being sunburned. Like that is, I think, the worst feeling in the world is having a sunburn. I think I'd rather get stabbed with a hot knife than get a sunburn ever again.
I actually have gone to see my doctor recently because I have a few questionable spots on my legs. Well, I have one on my knee, one on my back thigh, one on my back, which I've been ignoring for years because I was like, they're weird. Whatever, it's a funny mole. And that came up at work because we see patients who have cancerous spots and then need reconstruction.
If you call it a funny mole, you definitely need to go to the doctor.
Yeah, so I was talking about it, and I was like, yeah, I have these spots. They, like, seem to, like, change in sensitivity and size sometimes, but, like, it seems like no big deal. And
you ignored it?
Yeah, and they were like, when my
coworkers, a living entity on my body that's just chilling.
Yeah, and when my coworkers was like, does it scab over sometimes? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, given your complexion and hair and eye color, I highly recommend you go see a doctor. So yeah, after many years of I would honestly call it denial at that point. I went in and the doctor was like, yeah, the one on your knee is kind of weird. The one on your back is questionable. But this thigh one definitely has color variation. And I was like, okay. So
it's
now,
benign, move on.
I was like, just chop it off. No, so now I have to go to a dermatologist. Only problem is I can't see the dermatologist until July. My insurance ends in June, so your girl is going to pay $200 to $300 to make sure I don't have the big old C. It's like, gross. America! But yeah, I really think, though, it's probably, if anything, it's probably partly from the fact that basically until after college, I was like, sunscreen's dumb. The sun can't tell me what to do. I'm not gonna wear that. Well, I got burned a lot. Now here we are with possibly skin cancer. So lessons learned.
Well, I wear sunscreen mostly for my tattoos. I don't wear it for my skin. I wear it that I don't want my tattoos to look like shit when I'm older. Because like now I have like 2 relatively big pieces on my arm. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if those like get sunburnt and get gross, that's gonna look like shit. Because there's like detail to them. And I'm like, I don't want my tattoos to look like shit because then my mom will tell me, you shouldn't have gotten them anyways. So I don't want to hear it.
So part of this is not your health, it's spite.
Yes, 100%. I know, I'm not even
in anything.
I'm not even going to deny that. 100%. I keep all my tattoos sunscreened up. But like I do love a good spray tan.
Do you sunscreen the rest of your body or just the tattoo?
Oh. Okay. No, I sunscreen everything.
I wasn't sure if you're just like putting it on the tattoo spot or...
this was supposed to be about our summer bods. We'll add the tattoos too.
I'm not feeling confident about my summer body.
Really?
Why? Your girl has been in hibernation. Like most people for COVID. And I've not taken my health super seriously because...
That's what I like about high-waisted bathing suits. And I'm really glad they're in style.
See, I have a belly button piercing, so if I wear high-waisted, I'm like, yeah. I got when I was like 16.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, I think I was younger than that. My friend pierced it on her coffee table.
That's not what happened to me.
She was
I'm
a
terrified
professional
about how it would look
piercer.
if I was pregnant after.
I have thought about that, but I'm
I don't
not
know.
super committed to it. So I think if I ever get pregnant, I'll just take it out, let it like, I'll be done with it. I'm like, I've had my years, but that was like the one thing that my mom would let me do. Like I tried to gauge my ears. Actually, I did. I got in a ton of trouble for that. That was like the one thing because my mom had hers pierced, so she couldn't be like, no, you can't do that because she had it. But at this point, like, I don't even pay attention to it. I maybe change, like,
Same.
I clean it, but I've maybe changed the jewelry on it, like, once in a year because I just, like, but I don't know, high-waisted ones, I'm like, but nobody's gonna see this accessory.
See, like, the top ball of mine sticks out. So, okay, you're better than I am. I wash it in the shower while I wash my body.
Well, yeah,
But,
that's
like,
what I do. I'm not saying I do like a full-blown rubbing alcohol. Maybe when I first got it and it would get infected, but like now I'm just like, suds that shit up. Like,
yeah, I'm like, I just gotta get the belly button gunk out. Ew. But I haven't changed it. I think I changed it to match my bikini during that bodybuilding show, and then I got spray tan all over it. And then I think I changed it after that because I couldn't get the spray tan like off of it.
yeah.
And I haven't changed it since, and that was 2017.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just there, living its life.
But like, mine always like the top part pokes out.
Mine too.
But
They're inconvenient. I get stabbed sometimes.
Or it gets like caught on your pants.
There was one time I ripped it out in the shower with a loofah. It didn't like rip the skin, but it was like when it was still fresh and it just
you like tug it.
Yeah, and the ball came off and like I remember sitting there for like 20 minutes in the shower being like, get it back in. We need to do this. Like I had to really talk myself up. You know that scene of Prometheus where she like does a C-section on herself? That was me. But
No,
have you not
seen that movie?
Okay, well, Alien series is one of my favorite. You need to watch it so you understand this reference. I will find it and put it in the Discord.
I'll probably pass out, but I don't think belly button piercings are in style like they were when we were 16.
Yeah, because we were like part of the low-rise, like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears era.
Now it's high-rise biker shorts and like bandeaus, and then like an oversized jacket.
And I am here for it.
I do like the style.
Fits my body shape like no other. Mom jeans, yes.
Yeah.
I am going to be a hot mom. I will be a MILF because I rock the mom style right now.
I really love it. Like a dad bod equivalent for women.
Yeah. Oh, I was to say me. Matthew, he has the dad bod. My husband has the dad stash. His style this summer, he's like,
I wouldn't call it a dad stash. I would call it a porn director's stash, but whatever you want. I would also call it a porn director's stash.
Really?
I think you might be blinded by love right now.
Probably. I fucking love it. All of his friends have one now, too. Matt is a trendsetter. I love it. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's funny.
I'm totally fine with us having very different types.
That's probably for the better.
It's probably for the best.
True. I would totally agree with that.
No, but what's the female equivalent to a dad bod? Is there a word? I feel like there isn't because women.
I don't think so. Yeah, you're not allowed to have a fupa and you know like
and then also like they want you to have like big curves, but also like your gut can't be one of those curves.
No, you gotta look like you're the fucking Incredibles mom. You gotta be a Pixar mom.
Yeah,
you got like, that badonk,
Dexter's but mom and Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, but your whole top portion is.
I got a flat ass.
I feel like another reason why another reason why I'm not super confident about my summer bod is because all of my friends here are in very good shape. They like exercise 20 times more than I do daily, and they like love it. They thrive. I have to be tricked into exercising.
You go hiking a lot, though. You do a lot of hiking.
I go hiking a decent amount, but like, they will go like hiking and skiing and rock climbing. I'm going rock climbing today, actually.
Ooh, nice. That's fun.
Yeah, but like I either have to like do like a fun activity like a hike or a rock climb, or I have to like play a sport, like I have to go out and play basketball or volleyball or something, or I have to be in like a HIIT class where someone's yelling at me. But like I've never been the type of person to just like throw on headphones and like go on a run outside. Like that's not where I thrive because I start walking like 3 feet in.
Running is not my jam. But I used to be like that gym rat, as you guys know. But like I literally cannot drag myself to the gym even if I tried. Like the only thing that like really is fulfilling right now is like yoga and hiking. But I think that like that's more the direction that society's going in now. Is that like if you work out, like you do it because like you're enjoying it, not because you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't know what your friends out there look like, but like your friends here look normal, you know? You know, well, I mean, I know some of them, but I don't know like all of them. I don't know. I feel like society and social media are going in a way that like real people are cool now, is what I'm trying to say. That was a really long-winded way to say that like the like 6 to 8, like the 6 to 10 size range is like in style now.
Yeah.
Where like a normal person is like they're like fashionable. That was I don't know. I feel like I'm just pulling it out of my ass at this point.
No, I think you're right. I feel like that's
Okay.
a nice idea that people are trying to go to. I just don't know how true it is. You know what I mean?
And I
Like,
think
I feel like
it
some
depends on
people
like
genuinely think if you take like one girl who might be considered plus size and then like a supermodel, they'd be like, they're both equally beautiful to me, but just in different ways. Like, sometimes I'm like, that's bullshit. Sometimes I'm like, there's no way you genuinely think that. But that also could be like what's wrong with like society's mentality and like what we've been conditioned to like deem as beautiful.
and it might be just like what you follow too. Like I very much went on like a social media cleanse that like I don't follow anyone that like looking at their content makes me feel bad anymore because
Yeah.
I was like I will get in my head about it and I will spiral and I don't want to do that. So I've like unfollowed all of like the fitness people that like used to be like my social media holy grail and follow like a more authentic group of people, I guess.
Yeah.
I read about this like philosopher who she does a lot of look at like social theory and how we interact with each other, and she was talking about how even though when we look at content like on social media or on TV or in movies, we're aware that it's fake, but subconsciously we still like consume the values that it gives us about like how you should look or how you should act, or what your life should look like. And because of that, like you still have these negative feelings internally, even if you know for sure that it's not reality. And so after reading about that, like I really made an effort to like expose myself to more authentic things that make me feel better about who I am and what my life looks like.
Yeah. I also feel like I have definitely like given into a very toxic relationship with like exercising and food too. Like if I eat something bad, I'm like, all right, well I can't eat the rest of the day, or like, oh, then I'll have to like exercise extra. Or if I'm like, oh, I didn't exercise as much as I should have today, it means like, oh, well maybe I shouldn't eat that extra slice of pizza or something. So it almost feels like a point system that I have to like balance, which is also probably really fucked up and unhealthy, but
I mean, I do the exact same thing too, though. It's like there. It's. I think that I have to like rewire a lot of these things about food that I grew up with, especially like when we were younger, as we were talking about with like Britney Spears and Paris Hilton, things like that. I think like the message that we were given about food and dieting was so incredibly toxic, but so ingrained in how we think about all of that that to this day, people our age, but I would say particularly people who identify as female, are like really having to rework and like untangle these values and ideas about it.
But I think that's why there's so much anxiety over the summer season too, because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you figure people like start their like beach body process, like that's such a hot topic for so many people. Because they're like, well, if I like haven't accomplished like this look by the time summer rolls around, like I'm not gonna have a good time. I'm not gonna enjoy all these things. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to miss out on these things because I was so worried about what I looked like because I've already spent so much time worrying about what I look like. And I
yeah.
picked hobbies that were like very much like ingrained in like my vanity. And I'm like, that sucks, you know?
Yeah. It's also kind of like a sad, like you'll never honestly be satisfied. Like you could lose that X amount of pounds, or you could like theoretically look how your goal is, but you're always gonna like nitpick yourself.
My husband's cousin and I, great friends, freaking love this girl. We're sitting there and we both order a personal pizza. So then we get two different pizzas. So we split it in half. and she gives me half her pizza. I give her half of my pizza, so we get 2 different pizza flavors.
Yeah.
And then her other cousin's grandma goes, "Wow, you ladies sure do eat a lot." And I was like, "Grandma Sue just called us fat." Because it was a personal pizza. I was like, "Grandma Sue, I will be hungry after I finish this."
Yeah.
And it killed me, and it's stuck with me. No, I love you too, Matt, by the way. Sorry I didn't say that back.
I love you too, Matt.
We all love Matt. But I was so mind blown, and Matt was like, okay, but like, because I dwelled on it. Like it obviously has stuck with me. That happened 4 years ago. And he was like, but like their generation, like they weren't allowed to be eating personal pizzas. Like eating personal pizzas,
especially
like,
women.
Oh, unheard of. Yeah. Like that was so normal for me. I was like, oh yeah, we'll just split pizzas.
There's this poem where I think the line that stuck with me the most is something like, as women, or like as men grow to take up more space, women shrink in the house. And it was just like so much an idea of like a lot of women who are older and like especially homemakers like had to maintain a certain look and figure while like husbands are allowed to just kind of like, I've earned all of my everything here. I've earned the space, I've earned the food, like I can do as I please, but you better stay looking hot because that's your value.
But I've also heard a lot about like when you're in a relationship, you get comfortable and you
100%
both parties.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt and I have a pact that if I'm getting chunky, he better tell me. And vice versa.
Same.
Oh, and it hurts because we've both done it.
Yeah.
He told me I was getting chunky. I told him he was getting chunky, and like that shit cuts deep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would be able to handle that.
But okay, so here's
I feel like I'm already so hard on myself.
Here's the logic though of where I came from. It is like I've heard a lot of stories of people older than us getting divorces because one person, quote unquote, let themselves go or stopped caring about their looks because they were comfortable, and then the other person, and I'm not saying cheating is ever okay, like you need to, but the other person no longer felt like satisfied intimately and sexually or attracted to their partner anymore. And because they also did not have avenues for communication and to communicate those things, they ended up going somewhere else, making a terrible fucking decision, and then you end up with a divorce. So my mindset when I entered into this relationship, and my partners as well, was like, hey, I don't want it to come down to like, I feel like I'm not getting what I want in this relationship. So we need to be comfortable telling each other these things so that we don't hit that point. And like, it hurts. Yeah. It hurts, but I think it's very important for like the health of a relationship.
And I think it's the way that your partner says it too. Like the way that Matt said it.
I don't know how I would want it to be said to me though.
Well, so like I was like
you're right. I would probably rather hear it than not hear it, but either way, I feel like I would spiral.
Well, since Matt's listening, I'm pretty sure the way that he said it, where I was like, I think I was bitching about something, and I was like, I just like am not feeling great. Like I kind of feel like I've like let myself go, and he's like, yeah, you're like a little thick, just a little thick, you know. And then I was like, oh, we're exercising this now, and he was like, yeah, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it went the same. Okay, I can hear him laughing in the living room. I'm pretty sure it went the other way too, though, where one day he was like, I feel fat, and I was like, it's like a little chunky.
Well, but that's like part of it.
You think I'm fat? Yeah, but then you almost have to make a joke out of it. Like you have to laugh about it and just be like, yeah.
But the conversation too often tends to end up being both ways because like you live together, you're eating the same shit, you tend to have the same lifestyle, so like when it's come up, we've both been like, okay, we need to make lifestyle changes now. Like this is a group effort. Yeah, like I'm not doing this alone. Like I'm not going to go to the gym by myself. You're going to do this with me so that we're both bettering ourselves now.
100%. Yeah.
So,
because that's really like what Matt and I've done. We were like, oh, like we'll like incorporate more walks this summer. We're like, because then the dog's getting chunky too. So like,
we're all getting chunky.
We're all fat in this house now. Yeah, the cat he is now up to 13.8 pounds.
Jesus Christ, you have a giant cat. Feed that cat less, please.
I attract gigantic cats. Tippy, he was like 20 pounds. Chip's getting real close. I don't try. I feed them.
I mean, your cat has always been fat. Let's be honest.
All of my cats. Literally, I have 3 cats now in my life, and they are all chunky. I don't know what it is. I attract chunky cats. But I think too, like, if you're gonna open up that conversation with your partner, like, you have to be comfortable knowing that, like, they might tell you that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Matt to tell me that, like, when I was feeling really good about myself. I don't think I would do it now.
But that avenue has been open, so you can't go back.
I can't. Well, like when I made that pact with Matt, I had just come out of a bodybuilding show, so like I looked really good.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting in a restaurant in our college town drinking beer, so I was probably kind of drunk too. And I was like, if I get fat, you need to tell me.
I mean, let's be honest. The goal is MILFhood. Like, what? If we want to hit the goal of MILFhood, you gotta do what you must.
Yes.
You know, feelings are gonna get hurt on that journey, but
pain is beauty. But I think too that that's also another reason that like that parents' generation that like they're getting divorced because they're like not feeling that way. I think that's why a lot of women have a hard time aging, and why aging is so difficult, because like I can't really wrap my head around that, like why that would be so hard. But then like people in like my mom's generation, they're like, I look old, and I'm like, dude, that means I've experienced some cool shit. And I think it's just a different mindset. For sure.
Yeah, I had a birthday dinner with my mom and some of her friends. Like, I went out with them, and like right away they started talking about food and how much they were eating and what they were eating. And I was just like, can I just like enjoy my meal without having to nitpick all of the food I'm eating throughout this process? It was just such a like uncomfortable, mind-blowing experience to like see a lot of women in that age group like how they talk about food versus how we talk about food. And I was like, that's where all of this comes from. Okay.
Here is the trauma origin.
Yeah. Like, I just found my origin story.
One of the things too that's so frustrating for me is how like generally, obviously not every situation, but generally it's a lot easier for guys to lose weight than women. Like, especially like you'll see like couples around their wedding date, like they'll both go on the exact same diet, do the exact same workout regimen, and the guy will lose like 30 pounds and she'll barely lose 5, and she'll be like, what the actual fuck?
It's because people with vaginas are childbearing, so you like have to,
so they kind of need to be like,
yeah, you need to be prepared. Like, I mean biologically, like you have to be prepared at any point to like carry a child.
That blows my mind. It kind of freaks me out.
I hate it.
I know, right? But I think we've all decided we're all trying to heal our relationship with food.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of food trauma to work through.
I think that's a good way to put it, though, to heal the relationship.
Oh, well, that's how I always kind of looked at it, especially after that show. I definitely had a bad relationship with food. 100%. And then having to like switch up my entire diet too, I was like, I have a really fucked up relationship with food. Yeah. And it took a really long time to like work through that. So it's work for sure.
I think it's worth saying any body is a summer body. As long as you're healthy, whatever.
You have a body in the summertime.
That's a summer body. Just
bikini bodies are bodies that you put in a bikini.
Yes.
No matter what it looks like. Everyone is hot in the summer. I love it.
Should we do Q&A?
Yes.
Sure.
Do you want to give the intro of what Q&A and advice is, Lilife, for those who are new here?
Yep. So at the end of every podcast, we have a Q&A section. I am going to drop our Discord link in chat right now, so you can join this Discord. And then we have under the show, there's a channel called Q&A where you can feel free to put any questions in there, and we will answer them on the next episode. So today we only have one question from our trusty Neonads, and he says, you're on a date with a guy from Twitch chat. He's flirting with you like he's in chat. Turn on or turn off? I don't know what that would mean. Like flirting with me as if he's in chat. Like, is he...
I feel like it's some like cringy, simpy kind of shit. That's like, oh, my queen, my e-girl queen, like, bless
me with your Lilia hooves.
Yeah, sit on me with your Lilia hooves. Yeah, no, that's a no. That's gonna be a no for me.
I chat the same way I flirt, so it really wouldn't be any different. Like, I'm just I mean, the way that I flirt is how I talk.
Do you think you're good at flirting?
Matt, am I good at flirting? Put it in the chat. He probably logged out right now.
I'm not. It's gone.
I think
that
I am.
skill is. I make really bad jokes that are far too direct, and
oh, I think that's how I flirt. So I thought I was good.
I don't think
maybe we're not PG.
It might be good to you and me, but other people are not as into it. From what I've learned, I can
flirt with you. I can only flirt with Paige now.
We're gonna be good together.
We're COVID whores who flirt together. I hate it all.
I feel like even if you are like good at flirting as a woman, like guys don't get it.
Well, Matt said I'm the goat, so
they'll just be like,
a lot of guys think
super friendly.
Yeah, a lot of guys think being nice is flirting. Just being a decent human is flirting. So like I think text flirting and like chat flirting, that's cute in its spectrum, you know, in that context. But when you move context and continue that form of it, it ain't cute no more. Like, True. Talk to me like a person.
I guess I don't, like, this is really the only time that I stream / am in chat. So, like, I don't really have anything to go off of either.
It could be, like, text flirting, too. Like, when you just get a guy's number and you're, like, I don't know, using a lot of emotes or some shit.
Yeah, if a guy comes up to you at the bar and is like, you want to go home? Winky face. Hides behind hat. Like,
thanks, friends. Get your COVID vaccine. Everybody is a summer body, and we love you. Thanks for tuning in.
Find us on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play Podcasts. Yep. We also put out YouTube videos, and you can go back and look at our previous Twitch streams too. Make sure to join the Discord if you want to enter any questions that you want us to address next time. We stream every Sunday from starting at 2-ish Eastern time?
Yeah.
Eastern time.
Cool. Awesome.
And we're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Bye.
Bye, friends.